Welcome to the Coast to Coast Pick 5 preview show. Gino Bacola, it's hard to believe it's almost February. Oh, how time flies.
Yeah, and we have next week a really big weekend at Gulfstream Park with the Pegasus. That's going to be a massive day. I'm sure we'll be talking about some of those races, bunch of contests I'll mention that you can play in at the end when we finish up here. But this week, Santa Anita and Gulfstream will probably get a lot of focus because Aqueduct canceled for Saturday. Oaklawn canceled for Saturday. Laurel canceled for Saturday. Turfway Park canceled for Saturday. Crazy weather, cold fronts all over the U.S. So hopefully some of you that are watching from different places are safe and you're going to hang out and play some of the races from Santa Anita and Gulfstream this weekend.
And Seminar Skip, we don't call you Skip Rains for nothing. It looks like we've had some good weather here in Southern California. Could get some rain at some point this weekend, but it looks like we should be safe tomorrow.
Yeah, we should be safe tomorrow. I think it comes in late in the afternoon, and then tomorrow night. Then Sunday is very iffy. Then Monday is when the major part of the storm is supposed to hit. So we should be good. I'm looking forward to this weekend, and we got some great races. I love this coast-to-coast bet, and I'm excited about it.
Coast-to-coast bet, very popular, and the payouts have been terrific, Gino. And once again, it looks like another good sequence. Last week, I'm trying to think of the payout. We said last year it averaged about 11,000. Is that correct? And it's I think it was higher last week.
Yeah, there have been a couple massive ones so far. I think it was around 12, something in that range. We've had really great payouts, 4 of them so far. I believe I have been 4 out of 5 on all 4 of them. So going to turn that around one of these days. And that's what's nice about this wager. It's one of those that if you take a shot at 10 times and you hit it once or twice, you're going to be okay. You know, that's what happens with this thing paying really well. And I think we go 3 straight from Gulfstream and then right over to 2 straight from Santa Anita, right?
Yep, that's correct. And like you said, we're combining both tracks and looks like the weather's going to be okay. So let's dive right in. First leg is Gulfstream Race 9, which is going 1 1/16 miles. Gino, what are you looking at here?
Yeah, I'll know where I stand pretty early on because I think there are going to be 2 horses that take a lot of support in this race. The 1 Octane and the 2 Lure Him In. And I actually prefer Lure Him In. And I'm going to play a lot of tickets where I key in on this horse right off the bat and hope I can give me some coverage and I can beat a favorite. Because I'm looking at this race. Octane will be forwardly placed in here. And there's 3 or 4 other horses that actually could all go. And I think there will be enough company up front to make this sort of a congested early pace scenario. A horse like Cozieres, who's stretching out a little bit. This horse could be right there on the front end. Slim Slow Slider wants to be forwardly placed, wants to sit close. And then you have Granted Success from the outside with Paco aboard and a horse whose victories came when sitting close. And one of them was wire to wire going 6.5. So that horse has legitimate speed as well. I think it could set up nicely for Lure Him In. The 2 starts back race on November the 25th was excellent. And that's exactly the type of race I'm hoping for. Sitting that trip a few lengths off the pace. What happened last time, he raced in the Harlan's Holiday, which is the same race that Octane was in. And Octane was only 6-1. Lure Him In was 52-1. Lure Him In got parked 6 wide going into the turn, was out in post 10. This horse was 4 or 5 lengths wide all the way around the racetrack. It was a brutal trip. Had absolutely no chance there. Before that, you look at the form, it was actually pretty solid. This is a horse who had not raced on dirt for 20 straight races. He started his career on dirt. He won like 3 of his first 7 races. And then all of a sudden he went to turf and synthetic over and over and over again. It's not as if he's bad on those surfaces, but I think he's better on the dirt, even though his speed figures have been a little less. He just hasn't run as much on the dirt. I just really feel like he's going to fit well in here. I'm going to try to single him right off the bat. I know a lot of people will probably go to Octane. I'm hoping Lure Him In just gets a little better trip and Octane gets caught up front with a couple of the others.
Clearly a horse for course, but there's several horses in here that love Gulfstream. Skip, I got to ask you one thing before we get to you. As much as we are all serious horse players, when a horse has your name in it, do you automatically throw that in unless it's a single? Because the Skipper too is in this race, and we joke about that, but it is true. If there was a horse named Chappie, I'm using it. And are you using the Skipper too because of the name?
You know, I thought about it, but no, I'm going to pass on the Skipper too. And Trust me, if I thought it was a spread race, I definitely would be using it. But no, I'm going to pass on the Skipper 2 on this one. And I wanted to mention last Sunday's Coast to Coast paid 22,000.
Yes. Yeah.
The reason why I know that is because I singled the wrong horse. I hit 4 to 5 like Gino, and I singled the Baffert that actually got eased, but the other favorite won, and it would have paid about the same. So.
And boy, do we have a replay for you, but that's for another day. Who are you using in this leg, Skipper, now that you're not using the Skipper 2?
I was going to single right off the bat, but I was going to go with Octane. I understand what Gino was saying about lure him in. I don't know. I know that last race was out of the 10 hole, and he's kind of got me thinking now maybe I should add it in, but I got a spread later in the races, so I'm going to single Octane. I love the inside draw. I love it, second out off the little layoff there. And the trainer does very well with there. And obviously it loves like a few other Gulfstream Park, but I don't think the distance will be a problem with this horse. It's won at the distance before. Last time it almost ran like it needed a race. I love the inside draw. There is other speed, but I love how 2 back that it showed that it could rate. There for a while, it didn't look like it can. It, had to go to the lead or be on the lead. But way back in September of 22, it showed it could rate. And then 2 back, it showed it could too. I think the one's going to get a great trip. And I'm going to single right off the bat. So I'll know where I'm at too, Gino. Hopefully one of us will be alive.
Yeah, and that's the right, I think, way to play this race, like you said, because if you don't think it's a race, you don't want to waste, especially on the $1 minimum. You don't want to throw in a bunch of horses you don't need. That stuff gets really expensive really quickly. The last 5 times Octane faced Florida breds, all were wins. So This horse now is backing against Florida bred company too, and that's like a real key with the 2 inside horses. You could see they've been facing tougher open company races late as of late. So I'll go with the horse who will be right behind. Skip will have Octane, will try to be sitting in front, and like you mentioned, can absolutely sit the trip just off the pace if need be.
That's why we do these shows. That's why each has their opinion, and one's going to single one, one's going to single the other. And little buddy, I'm disappointed if you're not using the Skipper 2, but that's all right. I just like the name. All right, let's go on to the second leg, which is actually the next race at Gulfstream, race 10, going 7 panels. Skip, where are you heading here?
I'm going to use a few in here. Tough race, and that's why I had to single early. I got to put the 2 Let It Ride on my ticket. I don't think it got a hold of that Laurel Park surface. The 2 back at Aqueduct ran very well, and its maiden race, its first one out at Gulfstream, ran very well. There is other speed in here also, but I like that this horse showed that it could sit 2 back, and I really like the work on January 6th. You're able to watch that on XBTV, so that was very good work. And then look at George Weaver, what he's done for the meet. He's only winning at 38%. His barn is on fire. I'm also going to use I got to get a couple closers, and the 4 is going to be one of the closers that I use with Safi Joseph and Tyler Gaffleone. This horse, if they go crazy up front, which it looks like, maybe they kid with Baby Yoda, Let It Ride, Super Chow. I know it came from off the pace last time, but usually that horse shows speed. I'm going to put the 4 in. Super Chow I have to use too, because that horse is 6 starts at Gulfstream, 3 wins. It kind of showed a little new dimension last time where they took that horse back and ran very good. And I remember when Chantel used to fit this horse like a glove. She used to ride this horse so well. And so I got to use the 5. And then I'm going to use one more. I'm going to use the outside horse, Deer District. I think this horse with the outside draw, I love that. It comes out of that, Amsterdam, which was very, very tough race. Castellano jumps aboard. It hasn't raced at Gulfstream before, but it has been working there and been working good. So I'm going to go 2, 4, 5, and 8 in here.
All right, so a little bit of spreadsville here for Skip, and that's like you guys said, when you single that way, you can get away with doing that. Gino, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm glad we've got some differences in this race too. He mentioned the 2 Let It Ride. Got to give a shout out to probably the greatest horse racing movie of all time too. This horse is going to go 3rd off the bench. And what's nice, he's proven at 7 and he can sit a little bit too. He actually showed that if somebody goes, he can sit off if he has to. The 3, Capture the Lion. Now, it's not in the running line at all. This horse had one of the most brutal trips you're going to see. It was brutal. And it was the first start in a few months. It was at Tampa last time out. He drew the rail and he tried to go, but he couldn't get to the lead. So he was sitting just behind, and one of the horses in front of him stopped. He went from sitting about second or third all the way back to ninth. It was like he got pushed all the way back to dead last, lost about 3 complete lengths in positioning. And then what I like to see, he actually passed horses for the first time in his career after that. It was they ended up behind and they had to tip him out, and he started to make up ground. I love it when I see that with this type of horse, because in my head, I always hope that they can just combine how he used to run and then what he just did, right? Can you just show a little more speed? And now we know you can pass horses. That might be the case. I'm a little concerned with 7 furlongs, but I think now he's gotten a little bit older. Second off the bench, I'm giving him a look. My final horse, Skippy mentioned, you want a closer in here. The one I'm going to go to is the 7, Loyal Company. Let's just eliminate that synthetic race last time out. It actually was better than it looks on paper, too. He got up to within a couple lengths way on the outside before fading. He just had a really wide trip that day. But let's go to the races right before that. He's 4th in a stakes race at Keeneland behind Raise Cane, who's a grade 3 winner. The runner-up that day, Dr. Venkman, is a super nice horse. We saw him from out in Southern California. He's 2 for 3. Third place finisher that day was Post Time. That's the horse who beat Let It Ride over at Laurel Park last time out. That horse is 5 for 6 and really nice. Go to the race before that, Ever So Mischievous. That's a grade 2 winner. That's a horse who won 3 races in a row right there and has been favored in legitimate graded stakes recently. Prior to that, you see Scotland, who's a stakes winner and who was in some of the best 3-year-old races last year against top-tier talent in the Travers and the Pennsylvania Derby. You start going through this horse's races, they really make sense because he's just a closer. You know what he's going to do. He'll make a late run. A lot of these races, he catches horses in fields that are just faster than him. So they're always going to get the jump in races that don't set up. This one might set up, and I'm going to throw the 7 in just in case. I'm going to use 2, 3, and 7.
All right, so we got most of this race covered. It's funny, too. No one has Baby Yoda. Remember all the hype on Baby Yoda back in the day?
Well, look at the buyer. He had a 114 buyer speed figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
He won. That's a monster number.
Yeah.
He just
between the two, you guys almost had the all button, but no Baby Yoda on either ticket.
So Grogu will be right in the winner's circle, no doubt about it.
Exactly.
Gino talked me into the 7. Gino, I'm going to throw the 7 on my ticket because of what you said, and look what it says in the comments: lunged, outbroke rider.
Rider, yeah.
I've never seen that before.
I've never seen that.
A little uncomfortable early on too. So I think you can eliminate that race, focus on the dirt races, and the losses are against really tough company.
All right, we move on to race 3. Very interesting leg here, and this is the 11th at Gulfstream. 1.16 on the turf, maiden special weights. These are what replays and workouts and all that are all made of, Gino. What are you looking at here?
Yeah, and what's hard about this race is that 2 horses who are going to take a ton of money are first-time starters for big barns, but it's going long on the turf isn't easy, even for Chad Brown, even for Todd Pletcher. I mean, they're capable of winning with horses like this, but it's not like a 6-furlong dirt sprint for a horse who's training well and you can just get out of the gate. These horses could be slow, get in traffic. They're a little wider out. So it makes it difficult. I'm talking about the 7 Coin Vest and the 9 Zapata as horses who will be major players in here. So from a talking standpoint, they're definitely in the conversation. I'll mention 2 horses that I'm intrigued by that actually both have run. The 8 Pet Matt. That race was kind of sneaky. So his debut was on a muddy track at Aqueduct. Let's just put a line right through it, right? Easy to eliminate. Horse didn't really run that well that day. He finished 4th. Comes back and stretches out, going longer on the turf, shows a bunch of improvement. And he was 8th inside. He was about 7 lengths off. He got outrun a little bit. If you look at the splits to the half mile, they went really fast from between the first quarter and the half mile there. And it sort of distanced him. And after that, he actually closed really well. He got back into the race. I thought he showed really nice late energy. He's going to get Lasix for the first time now. And he has a little foundation compared to a lot of this field, right? Oh, there are a lot of horses that are first-time starters, lightly raced. You've got that 6 furlong race and then a mile race on the turf, which I think can go a long way. And that's sort of the reasoning, some of the reasoning with the other horse who I'll mention, Mo Espresso, the 3. So this horse has 2 races on the dirt. The debut was not bad. It was 4th at Churchill, going a mile on the dirt. He was away a little slowly. He was in a little bit of traffic in between horses. I thought he finished really well that day. He was a horse who I would have played the next time off of that trip. And then he came back, and you could see he was only 5-1. He got a ton of action, sloppy track. I think we can just eliminate that. Few months off, he shows back up, tries the turf. His dam won going long on the turf. He has 2 siblings that raced. One of them was a turf winner. The other only raced 1 time on the grass and ran 2nd. So there's a lot of turf there for this horse who has foundation. And I really like what I've seen from Murphy. Oh, I think he rides horses like this that are a price too really well, and in particular on the grass. So a couple horses that might be a little bit outside the box that'll be in the mix for me. And I mentioned the other super logical horses, the first-time starters, whatever you're going to do with them.
It's, Skip, it's very rare. Gino mentioned a couple prices that you will ever see. The top 2 morning line favorites are first-time starters going a mile and a 16th on the grass. That is very rare.
And both trainers do very good with that stat too. The 7 costs 1.1 million, and then the 9 has got really, really good breeding, that European breeding. But look at Chad Brown, 0 for 17. When have we ever? I mean, that is just horrible. He's got 3 seconds and 0 thirds. His barn is just ice cold. Now, he could snap out of it at any time. We all know that. He does a great job. But I'm with Gino here. I'm looking for bombs. And on one ticket, I am going to go all, just because I can't make heads or tails of anybody. But I want to mention the 2-horse Trapline at 30-1. This horse is by Mendelssohn out of a Kavanaugh Park, a Galileo Dam. This horse is not bred to sprint. It's bred to go 2 turns. At the start, it was pinched back badly. They kind of tied up and didn't try after that. Now they stretch it out. First time Lasix. That horse wants every part of this mile and a 16th distance. So the 2 is definitely going to be on my ticket.
And Skippy, all 4 of that horse's siblings won on the turf too. There's some nice turf pedigree in here for some of these. And, both the first time starters have that great pedigree that you were talking about well, but I know you were going to mention someone else.
Yeah, I got to use the one Dilger on it. I like the breeding there. I like that race first time out. It kind of was sitting back and it made a little move. Then it kind of kept coming. It just coming just slowly, gradually. Like it showed me that it probably needs one. It wasn't quite ready to win first time out. And then I got to use Royal Majesty, the Bill Mott horse coming in from Great Britain. This horse, I like the breeding on that too, as I do in most of these in here. They all cost a pretty penny. But Bill Mott's having a good meet. I got to use that. I think with the first time Lasix, like all of these get now that they're 3-year-olds. And maybe one other one that I'd mention would be maybe even like Bourbon Outlaw. I'm just looking for something crazy to happen in this race because I'm against the 2. I'm not that I'm against, but I think the 2
they don't need to win. No,
right.
They don't need to win this race. I
think they're vulnerable. And so this is when we look for crazy things. And since I singled the first leg and I went 5 deep now that Gino said, I'm going as deep as I can in here and probably the all button. And I'm just going to thin out late and hopefully something crazy happens in here.
And the building ticket has to come into play too when you're thinking about this. What did Skippy and I do in leg 1? He singles the favorite. I single the second choice. So right off the bat, we know our tickets aren't going to have a big price in that race immediately. Right. So if you put another race or 2 where you're only using shorter prices, don't be surprised when you look up sometimes and your tickets don't pay very much, right? I see people do that sometimes. Like, well, you had short ABC in every race. What did you think it was going to pay? Right. So you have to think about, and maybe in this type of a situation with the dollar, you're not worried about that as much, right? Maybe you're just worried about staying alive. You think, hey, it's going to pay more than I put in no matter what. But I think that's always something you have to weigh when you're making wagers. And okay, do I have chalk? Is this a race where I don't love the favorites as much? So you know what? Let's use 3 or 4 other price horses instead. That's a better approach a lot of the time.
Right.
And
I'm sorry, chat. Mentioning that, even the pick 5 on Saturday, the coast to coast, that was all chalk with, I think, one horse that paid $12 and it paid $1,500.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's just, of course, we're trying to beat favorites like we are in that race. But even if it comes chalk with like a $10 horse, I mean, it's still, you're going to get paid. I mean, being that dollar bet and that low takeout. So anyways, I'm excited, as you can see.
Well, even more rare, I would say, as we move on, than the 2 favorites being first-time starters going a mile to 16th is the fact that, like Skip mentioned, Chad Brown 0 for 17 at any meet. That is
just 3 in the money, too.
Right.
That's sometimes you'll see 10 rare. Seconds and 3/3, and you'll say, they were a little unlucky. Skip was pointing out they really haven't been firing that much down there.
That's another reason to maybe catch a price here. All right, so let's move on to the 4th leg. Now we go to the 2 legs here at Santa Anita. Skip, we're going back to the turf again in race 5 at Santa Anita. This is maiden 50s, going a mile on the turf and 8 horses in this race. What are you looking at?
I got to go thin here. If I'm going to hit that all button in that last race, I'm going to go thin. Potential Spam is going to be on my ticket. I like that they're putting the blinkers on this horse. It's breaking from the outside, but this race, 2 and 3 back, I really, really liked. I'm going to give it a pass for the last race. I like that they're going to put it on Lasix, and that horse will be on my ticket. The one that I like, and I think it's a little sneaky. It's only 5-1 on the line, but is Daddy Justify, the 4. I love that Kent DeSormo gets on this horse. I love the drop down. First time out, they bet it, and it was a step slow. It was green. I like the work on the 10th. This horse wants every part of 2 turns, and Peter Urton, obviously they do good second time out. He does good sprinter route. I think the 4 is sneaky. I'm only going 2 in here. I'm going 4 and 8.
4-8 for Skipper. Gino, you have any other ideas in the 4th leg?
Yeah, it's funny when he mentioned the 8 and the blinkers come on. That November 12th race, which was the same race that Goldfoot was in, the 7, that was the most, to me, obvious race of a horse that wants blinkers. This horse looked done and just kind of kept trying and kept coming, and just, you could see was running in spots, but just couldn't focus and string it all together. I had 4 horses on my radar. I have to figure out exactly how I'm going to play this race. Potential Spam is one of them. Goldfoot is the other, who I mentioned, another one. He got caught in some legitimate traffic down in the inside. He just had nowhere to go. He got some room late, but again, he runs into traffic. He's a first-time gelding. He'll get Lasix for the first time. I think he fits. The horse who I'm sort of the most intrigued by in here, and would be a horse that I would tell someone to use on their ticket, would be the 6 Audible Silence, who I don't think will be quite as obvious of a horse for many. This horse comes out of a pretty strong maiden 32 race. We talked about that race, guys. Remember that horse, Sharp Lorenzo, who was dropping in class after coming out of a couple maiden races, and he ran huge that day. And actually, he faced winners and ran 3rd against winners the next time he ran, and was pretty good that day. The runner-up came back to win a maiden 32 by 6.5 lengths. And then another horse in that race went over to Los Al and won one of those 1,000-yard quarter horse races. So that race was actually pretty strong for a maiden 32. And Audible Silence was down inside. He was 3rd. He moved up to 2nd, but he just ran into traffic. He was in tight. He had a little bit of room. You could tell he didn't want to go through there. He was just very discouraged how tight it was, and he was waiting, and then it opened up a little bit more late, and he kind of gradually went through it. But he's got something. And then when you look at the turf, his dam was a stakes winner and was graded stakes placed. And then he has 4 winning turf siblings. So there's some class in the pedigree. There's some turf in the pedigree. I think this horse ran sneaky good in the debut, and I think he'll step forward in here. So he's one that will be in the mix for me. And the other one was the 2, who's obvious, Maximum Capacity. But Audible Silence would be the type of horse, if he's 6-1 plus, I'll put 20 to win on him,
All right, interesting stuff there. And so we move to the final leg of the sequence, which is race 6 at Santa Anita, Gino. They're going at 6.5 furlongs. What are your thoughts here in the final leg?
This will probably be the shortest price favorite in the sequence. You guys agree with Scary Fast Ride? Yeah. So this will, I guess between this one and Octane, Octane, maybe the 1 and the 2, both there will take some money. But I do think in this race, it's probably Scary Fast Ride and then a group of other horses at the next tier of prices. So this one might be a little more popular. She has to be in the mix. The problem for me in just singling a horse like her is, one, she's not that fast early, right? She can sort of put herself into a good spot, but she's not going to run away with this race or probably be sitting in the top 3, I think, based on this field. And 2, she's a 5-year-old mare who only has 5 starts. So she's had some issues like along the way, right? She probably would have had a few more races than that, but we can see some big gaps there. She was off for a long period of time, came back. I think she's now starting to really get the foundation under her. So I'm not trying to chuck her out, but I'm going to use one other probably along with her. And it's the horse who I used a few weeks ago on the show when we talked about a race down the hill, Diamonds Danzig. I think what you can notice with her, that race, first off, was against Open Company, first level allowance. So that was a lot tougher than this Calbred group would be. That was on the turf. This was on the dirt. She's been fine on the dirt. She hasn't won, but she's actually run a little bit better and her figures are solid. What I really notice is just look at the difference in running style that she had when Franco was aboard her versus the last couple times when Mike was aboard, who's just a much more patient rider. And one of the issues was last time I was hoping she was more forwardly placed in that race, and she was way out of it. I think she's just going to get a much better kind of aggressive handling here with Franco coming back on. I think he'll put her in the race. And the pace scenario in here is a little bit murky. There are a few horses I could see on the lead, a couple other pressers. I think this horse could be sitting 3rd. And just in a really nice spot, fits at the level with this group. Just eliminate that last race and look at the body of work prior to that. It was pretty consistent. So I'm going to try to use 3 and 5 in here and hope I can close out with those 2.
3-5 for Gino. Skip, you adding anybody else in the last leg?
I'm going to use the 7. The 7 loves Santa Anita. It loves the dirt. 14 starts, 5 wins, 3 seconds in the 3rd. Santa Anita, 4 starts, 3 wins in the 2nd. Last race I'm throwing out. Through head start, reared. It didn't run bad. It got beat by the 1 horse, Irish Winnie. But with that start, it had no shot. And then look at its last 3 races. It broke from the 2-hole, the 2-hole, the 1-hole last time. This horse wants to be drawn outside. I don't think it likes dirt getting kicked in its face. And now it's got that cozy 7, post 7 draw. I like the 7 an awful lot. I'm going to probably use the 5 also, but I might single the 7. I like the 7. I love the outside draw, and I think this horse is going to fire a big race right back.
And yeah, this horse won at the level a few times, Skippy. Definitely fits in this race.
I like it.
Fun sequence. Can I plug a few things before we finish up? I think a lot of the people.
Any last comments, my man?
Yeah, I think a lot of people on here will always appreciate the pick'em contest that we have every Saturday, every Sunday. $500 to the winner, totally free to enter. These Saturday, Sunday ones, when there's football games or on both days, are in my opinion the best because you've got a bunch of NFL questions and then a bunch of Saturday Santa Anita questions. Pick the winner of this race. What's the spread in the game? Tomorrow, where you've got the Texans versus the Ravens, 2 big spreads tomorrow, 2 number 1 seeds against 2 young, upstart, awesome looking quarterbacks. And then next week is that big Pegasus World Cup betting championship, $250,000 in prizes. It's a $6,000 entry if you don't qualify to get in, right? So that's a little bit hefty. Tomorrow, there's a $1,000 game that you can qualify. And then on Sunday, Wednesday, and Thursday, there are $80 feeders. Those are the ones that I like to play because for $80, you qualify to get into the $1,000 game. And then you win your seat for $6,000. So for $80, you can win your way in to be playing in that massive tournament. And what's cool about the Pegasus tournament, you can play that thing live at Santa Anita. You can play it at Gulfstream or from ExpressBet. So that's where you get all the information for the tournaments. It's a big time for the tournament players right now.
Big time for the tournament players, big time for the pick'em, big time for football. And of course, all eyes will be on Santa Anita Gulfstream with a lot of the races canceling tomorrow around the country. So First post tomorrow, Saturday, 12:30 at Santa Anita. Gentlemen, thank you much, and everybody, good luck out there. We'll talk to you soon.
Good luck.
Good luck, everybody.